Okay, this is for voice practice. We have Ms. Kearns for the people and Mr. Singh for defense. Let's identify.
I am attorney for the people, Ms. Kearns.
I am the witness.
I am the court.
I am attorney for defense, Mr. Singh. Begins with a question by Mr. Singh. 15.
15.
All right, here we go. For the record, in the bedroom, there is a cabinet in the bathroom. Did you go into the bathroom and search it?
Yes,
Did you open the door to the cabinet to look inside of it?
I believe so.
In the living room, there was a dresser,
Correct.
had drawers and doors on it.
Correct.
Did you also open them to look inside of it and search?
Yes,
They were closed when you entered the residence, is that correct?
I believe they were. Yes.
In the residence, you found a white plastic bag that had empty bottles of pseudoephedrine in them, is that correct?
What part of the house was that?
In the kitchen,
Yes, there were.
and those bottles that you found were inside that plastic bag, is that correct?
Correct.
And you took them out and displayed them for your photocopying?
Yes, that's correct.
Where did you find that plastic bag with the bottles of pseudoephedrine?
I don't recall exactly. However, I think it was in the southeastern portion of the kitchen near a counter or something to that effect.
Were they in a trash can or just sitting there on a counter?
Without looking at the report, I don't exactly recall where they were.
Do you have your report in front of you?
I do not have that particular report.
That would be listed in your report, is that correct?
It should be, yes.
Did you write the property report of the property receipts from 6040 after you searched the residence?
If my signature appears on the bottom, then yes, I did.
If I may have just a moment, Your Honor. So if in your report it was listed that the plastic bag contains 6 pseudoephedrine pill bottles, 60 count, 60 milligrams, 7 pseudoephedrine bottles, 60 count, that would be the plastic bag that I just referred to, is that correct?
I believe so, but I would have to refer to my report.
And would be found on the southeast kitchen counter, does that refresh your recollection?
That's approximately where it was found, yes.
Okay, did you find all of the other items in the house?
No, there were other officers assisting me.
Okay, well, all of the items are listed DD, that stands for David Diaz, the case agent, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So you find the items, you set them out, and then he labels them with his name and case designation. Is that correct?
No, we would have labeled them with his initials.
His initials?
Correct.
No further questions?
Ms. Kearns.
Just one. When you did the investigation in Marysville to establish a rental agreement, were you able to establish one with regard to the residents of 6048?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
I believe that the responsible people who were supposed to be living there are Deborah Murphy and Leonard Eaton.
But more specifically, the question was there an agreement?
I don't recall specifically if there was an agreement.
Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Singh, any questions?
Detective, did you see a white female adult civilian being removed from the residence at 6040 on April 22, 1999 in the morning hours while you were executing the search warrant?
I don't recall her being removed. I just recall her standing on a rear porch.
Do you see that person here in court today?
Yes,
Can you identify her, please, for the record?
she's dressed in black and sitting behind the attorney.
May the record reflect the witness has identified Ms. Teresa Munson, Your Honor.
Yes.
When you say you saw her standing on a back porch, is that the back porch of 6040?
Yes,
Referring to the diagram, Peoples 12, indicate where it was that you saw her.
she was standing in this area.
What was happening at that time? What did you see her doing?
I believe she was surrounded by SWAT team members or other officers in that vicinity.
Was that within a few moments of your arrival on the properties and start of the execution of the search warrant?
Yes, that would have been.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
Did you see Teresa Munson at the residence at 6040 on April 21 when you were there?
No, I did not.
Had you been to that residence any other time other than the 2 times you have told us about on the 22nd and the day before?
No, I hadn't.
Had you been to that residence any other time other than the 2 times you have told us about on the 22nd and the day before?
No, I haven't.
I have no further questions.
One more, would it refresh your recollection as to whether or not you were able to establish a rental agreement of 6048 if you were to look at your report?
I don't have that in front of me.
I have. Would you like to look at it?
That's fine.
Your Honor, the question is whether it would refresh his recollection, but the answer that is coming is broad and calls for hearsay. It's a vague question.
I will allow him to review his report to refresh his recollection, and council can ask another question.
Does this refresh your recollection as to whether or not there was a rental agreement between the owner and residents of 6048?
Objection, Your Honor. The question is vague. It calls for a response outside this witness's personal knowledge.
Overruled. The question is, does it refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Thank you. You may step down. Next witness, please.
I need to step outside to see if they have arrived yet. People call John Clerk, C-L-E-R-K.
Thank you. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Clerk, by whom are you employed?
State of California,
What capacity?
as a latent fingerprint analyst,
For what department do you work?
Department of Justice,
And for how long have you been employed as a latent fingerprint analyst with the Department of Justice?
for the last 9 years.
Can you explain what kind of education and training you have which qualifies you to hold this position in the Department of Justice as a latent fingerprint analyst?
I am certified by the International Association for Identification as a qualified latent fingerprint analyst. I have 30 years experience. I am an instructor and have been so for the last 10 years at the California Criminalistic Institute in the science of fingerprints.
How is it that a latent print is analyzed?
Within this friction ridge of skin, there are various characteristics which are actual individual characters. We find similar and dissimilar matches and then exclude a person from having that latent impression.
So when you make analysis of a latent impression, such as a fingerprint, you are able to either make a comparison and an identification or an exclusion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And based on your training and expertise, are you able to make a comparison?
Once we find sufficient number of these matching characteristics, and the Department of Justice policy is 8 or more matching characteristics without any dissimilarities, then we state that fingerprint was made by that particular individual with absolute certainty to the exclusion of all others in the world. All right, this is more practice. We have Mr. Stahl for the plaintiff and Mr. Davis for defense. Identify.
I'm attorney for the plaintiff, Mr. Stahl.
I am the witness.
I am the court.
I am attorney for defense, Mr. Davis.
Line 10.
Mr. Stahl, for the record. Officer Fontes, each time you said something about seeing the defendant and his saying, come on in, you have given a motion with your hand indicating come along or come on, that kind of a motion. I am not sure, though, from your testimony whether you have been testifying that this is the gesture that meant to you, come on in, or whether he actually spoke something to you.
Well, I can't picture everything, but in my mind, I see Mr. Bates either rising from the bed. Seems to me he was rising from the bed and something to the effect, that's all right, come on in.
Speaking,
Speaking and motioning.
words to that effect,
Yes,
and motioning at the same time, is that it?
motioning. This is my impression. My impression is that he was laying down, possibly sleeping. I didn't run right into the room because as I walked in, I observed this.
What I am interested in now is what he said and what he did in that regard, and I understand now you have a recollection or an impression from what you can recall that he said something to the effect of, that's all right, come in, and gave you this motion at the same time?
This is true.
All right, now can you recall whether you were in the room when you saw that or still out in the hall? Is that what it was there, but in any event outside the room?
I can't recall, but I do remember talking to the girl, and I can't remember verbatim what I said to the girl.
All right, is she the one who said it? She is the one who said, come on up, and you think she directed you down to that room
I was directed because I had no idea.
by her or somebody?
By somebody.
But you can't recall whether Mr. Bates said, that's all right, come on in, and gave you this motion while you were still outside the room or after you got in it. Is that the substantially correct?
This is true, but I didn't just walk into the room. I was either advised by the girl to go into the room or advised by Mr. Bates. But I do recall the door. The bed was on the other side of the room, so I could not observe it just from, in other words, there was a wall there. I couldn't look right through the wall.
Well, okay. Anything else?
You mean you couldn't see the bed because of the wall?
There was a doorway and the bed was on the other side of the doorway.
You had to go in the doorway just a little to see the bed?
I can't recall.
Well, the wall was between you, wasn't it?
Well, the wall, the doorway, and the bed was further up. In other words, the wall was there, but the doorway was before the wall. But I don't remember. I remember the door was open, but I don't remember which way it swung.
Anything else?
Your Honor, can he answer the question? He still hasn't answered the question.
Did I see the bed standing outside the room?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I did or not.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
That's all, thank you.
Are you going to need me again, or can I leave?
No, you stay.
Any other witnesses?
Nothing further. The people rest.
Does the defense have a witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, we would request, because of the difficulty in describing this to you, that we take a view of the home.
I don't want to go out there.
Then we call as a witness Rhonda Farrell.
Wait just a minute. What is a sawed-off shotgun section?
12-020.
I don't think it is. I have that in front of me, and there is nothing in it about the sawed-off shotgun.
I will have to look at the penal code if it is not that.
May we take about a 10-minute break, Your Honor?
Well, all right. I'm looking at the amended section, and it's 12020. All right, we will take a short recess. All right, you indicated that you had a witness or two or three.
Yes, before calling the witnesses, Your Honor, the testimony of the officer as to what he found, in particular, the gun was made subject to a motion to strike after the cross-examination, and we would again ask that the motion be granted and that the evidence concerning the gun be stricken.
Well, all right. His testimony was that, if you recall, the defendant said that he and the girl lived there, but that was after he went into the defendant's room and was talking to him. Prior to that, about the only thing we know for sure is that somebody up there said, "Come on up," and directed him somehow toward his room. All we learned later that the girl, if that is who it was, does live there.
But the third party doesn't, and he didn't know who said it. And I believe there are cases on point, including People versus Carslow, 47 Cal 2nd, 374, which states that an officer can't justify his actions merely by stating somebody pointed it out to him, the direction, or gave him authority, that that person must really have authority. Here, we don't know who it was that said it, and I don't believe the officer ever said it was the girl who gave him permission. And in addition, he says that the girl has permission to go in a room in a boarding house type situation.